from the Asian Community Development Council. This is Family in Focus, Mondays at 12 noon on PHLV Radio.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Family in Focus podcast brought to you by the Asian Community Development Council here on PHLV Radio. We're here every Monday at noon. And today we're talking about a topic that it's on top of mind for a lot of people right now, especially with the anniversary of the October 1st shooting in Las Vegas. It's been 4 years since that happened. So we want to talk about the resources that are out there in the community, especially for kids, teens and families who are coping with grief and loss. So, especially with COVID this past year, it's just been a tough time for a lot of people. When we want to put it out there, especially with the Asian American community who are, culturally not as open of talking about things like this. And I think that it's so important to create this conversation, a space for us to talk, in a safe space. And so we want to bring this topic up today. We have some experts joining us on the show, as well as families who have been affected by this. And I want to start with our first guest. We have Kalea Tawatau and Lenny Rose Pasco. They're joining us from Adams Place. It's a nonprofit here in town dealing especially with this topic. So they're going to talk a little bit about what services they offer to their community. We also have with us today Linda Carpenter and her daughter, Kelly Carpenter. And Kelly actually is a student at Lead STEM Academy, but she also took part in with an Adams Place program called Camp Cope. So she's going to talk a little bit about her experience there as a teenager, a kid now dealing with grief and loss. And also we have with us a guest who's been on our show before, Celine Liu. Thank you so much for joining us. She's actually joining us from her own office, and she's a licensed marriage and family therapist here in Las Vegas. So she's going to talk a little bit more about the need for these kind of resources here in this community. So thank you so much for all the guests for joining us here, both in the studio and also Celine joining us via Zoom today. So I'm going to start off talking about this resource that's out there that some people may not know about yet or may not have heard, but Adams Place, this nonprofit that's been around in Las Vegas area for over 10 years now. And, their goal, their mission specifically is to help kids, teens, and families experiencing loss and getting that peer support out there. And we're so lucky to have Kalea and Lenny Rose. So they're social work interns. So you're both students, college students, right? And you work with Adams Place to help the community. So we're going to put up just some information on the screen for you. And Kalea and Lenny Rose, I want you to talk to us about Adams Place and the mission and what it does for people who have never heard about this organization before.
Okay, so Adams Place is a place where children and families can come together and talk about their feelings of grief and loss. And we do have a program called Camp Cope, which is basically our core of our organization, where we actually talk to kids about their feelings about grief and loss.
Right. So talk to us a little bit about the background of Adams Place.
Okay, so Adams Place was established in 2010. Our CEO founder, Kelly Boyers, she actually lost her son up in University of Reno, and so she created Adams Place as a center for kids and families to come together and to talk about their feelings.
Okay. And yeah, we're seeing here 1 in 14 children will experience grief or loss. So that's a huge impact. And so the signature program is Camp Cope. So tell me, that starts up again. So we have these sessions, I think, twice a year. So the next one starts October 11th, right? Yeah. So talk to us about that. So we're seeing here just kind of a little background of what Camp Cope is all about. So trained volunteer facilitators actually do this. So you're all both part of this, right?
Yes.
Yeah, talk to us about that. How does it work? So I know this upcoming Camp Cope is a virtual one. So do people kind of jump on Zoom once a week, or how does it work?
So Camp Cope is now virtual for this semester. So we're doing it 6 weeks consecutively, where we meet with the children and talk about what they're experiencing. And it's basically just activities that we talk about. We pre-plan and stuff like that. So that's essentially what the Camp Cope program is. It's just activity-based, has little curriculum that we follow too as well.
Yeah, and I know it's evidence-based, right? Social emotional learning, that's really important. So explain that to me. What's social emotional learning? What's kind of the basis behind that, and why is that so important?
So basically, social emotional learning program, which basically are peer support groups with the specific themes, goals, and objectives for children, teens, guardians, and families experiencing grief. We encourage participants to express their feelings, experiences, struggles, and participate in all activities with the group. We offer virtual and in-person sessions. We will have 6 sessions this fall, starting October 11, and it is going to be a virtual CamCope for an hour at least. We will also have an in-person junior CamCope once a month for an hour as well. And I am super excited to be part of the CamCope team.
Yeah, and it's such a great organization. It's been around for so many years, but the goal now is to reach out to different communities, especially, like minority communities and who may not have heard about this group. So what are you doing to get out the effort? I mean, you're trying to get the story out there, right, for people to come to you and apply to register, because you have to register for CamCope.
Yeah. So basically, in order to register, please visit the website to sign up and click the events tab to fill out the form. The 5K run is going to be on November 13th at 7 a.m. And the main concept of this event is to raise awareness and support for children and teens coping with loss. We will run and walk together as a community, and the events include dog costume contest, kids obstacles course. We will have some music and fun fall morning, helping families and children. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, so you're talking about this Build Strong Hearts 5K run that's coming up on November 13th on a Saturday, and that's just one of the events that CamCope does, and really just need all the support they can get. So it's really great. So this is, part of this is getting the word about CamCope out there, and we have actually an Asian American family that's been affected by loss, and that's why we invited Linda and Kelly to take part in this conversation, because Linda, you are your mom and with Kelly, and your husband, his name is Kelly as well.
Yes.
So he passed away pretty unexpectedly about a couple years ago, right?
That is correct. He passed away in 2019.
2019, yeah. And Kelly was just about 10 years old?
Correct. And we felt really lost, and we didn't know where to turn. We don't have family in town, so it was very difficult. And her school had informed us about Adam's place. So we did get that information through the school, and we went to the office and got more information. And strangely enough, when Kelly went into middle school, they had the program on campus, which I thought was fantastic, because it's really hard to travel to appointments and whatnot. So having it at the school and with other children, I thought it would be a lot better for Kelly.
And so CamCope in School is one of the programs that the Adams Place does, and they want to expand and get it out there. So basically they offer these peer support, right? So is that where Kelly can talk with other kids who have experienced similar losses?
Yes, that is true. And that's the best part, is because I don't think children understand that, they're not alone, that this is part of life. And in fact, others as well at their age do face these loss and grief.
Yeah.
So.
And Kelly, I know you've spoken out about this before, and talk to me about that experience going through that when your dad just passed away. That must have been really tough. You were just 10.
I mean, at first it was just like a big shock. I didn't understand it really, because I got told at my best friend's house after school. So for me, it was just like, whoa, okay. I didn't know what to think, if this was real, if what was going really on.
And you were close to your dad.
Yeah, I was really close. We went to a lot of races. We spent time together. Bring your kid to work day, I got to go and spend time with him.
Yeah. So when you were in this CamCope in School program and you got to talk to other kids about their losses and people they've lost in their lives, was that difficult at first to kind of open up, and what made it easier for you?
I mean, at first, yeah, I didn't know anybody there. I mean, you're taking a look at few teachers, adults, and just random students you've never seen in your life before, and then they're just opening up completely about their life, and I didn't know what to say or if I was okay with opening up with them. Later on it started getting easier because I started building trust, knowing that they've gone through similar things and they're learning to understand with others.
Yeah. And when you start hearing stories, did that make you feel like, okay, I'm getting stronger and this is getting easier because other kids have gone through similar things too?
It wasn't really getting stronger. It was more of a better understanding to help me get stronger. Because once I started understanding, like, okay, in the real world, this will be happening, and there are other families my age who have actually gone through that, it kind of gave you a feeling of, like, hope or just knowing that it's going to be okay.
Yeah. And Mom, how did you feel when you did you start seeing the change in Kelly going through that process?
Yes, definitely, because she was very closed. She wouldn't express herself at all, and it was very concerning because, if you don't open up and share your feelings, God knows how it builds up inside.
Right.
We see it in a lot of people, whether they, hurt themselves or whatnot. And I was afraid for her because at such a young age, I can't fathom, losing a loved one and trying to understand the changes in the world. I mean, your whole life changes.
Yeah, no, and this is such a, I think, tough issue for many families. Doesn't have to be Asian American families, but I wanted to bring Celine into the conversation here. And Celine, you work with a lot of Asian American families as well, when it comes to family and things they've gone through, mental health issues. But just listen to Kelly and Linda and their story. Does it kind of, you hear this from other families you work with, right?
Yes, definitely. So it's not easy to talk about loss, especially from Asian family. Often feelings are repressed, denied, or avoided. So a lot of time, not only children, but adults are not easy to process their feelings.
Yeah. So what's your advice? I mean, obviously, it's important to reach out for help, but we've talked about this before, Celine, too, that there are not that many programs and resources out there to help, right? And that's part of the challenge.
Definitely. So I'm so glad. I know there's Adam Place. This place offers the opportunities to have the children, with the peers, they can witness their loss together, and process that, and finally maybe one day find some more creative solutions for their loss.
Yeah.
But a lot of time, I think it's important for parents to recognize their children actually need help. Because there are a lot of myths about loss. Like children, they don't need to process about grief, or they get over soon. They would play. They're crying for the first 30 minutes, and they stop playing, so they don't really care. So that's just myth. Because children do need to process their loss.
Yeah. So, and I think you bring up a good point about, looking for signs. And so what are some of the things that parents can look for, especially if their child, teenager, is going through that, and maybe, when they need to get help? What are some of the things that parents can look for?
So, age, the differences, the child development differences is very important. So if you have children as preteen or teenagers, you often will see them, they probably express the feeling of hopelessness. Or some of them even really, especially girls, that's from the research, teenage girls, they don't talk, they could be quiet, they still go to school, they don't cause any problems, but actually they are experiencing depression, or they feel disconnected to others. They feel they are different, but they don't know how they could express that. And for boys, we often see that they could be very angry or irritable, or have the problematic behaviors. start smoking, using drugs, and all the acting out behaviors. But those feelings, they it's hard for them to talk about it. So they're acting out all the feelings.
Yeah, so I think it's really important for parents to watch for these warning signs, right? And then to really pay attention, because as you said, sometimes they don't express it in the way that you expect them to. And a question for you, Celine, just about, the cultural barriers. When it comes to Asian American families, why is it so difficult to kind of share? Is it culturally we're not used to talking about it? We're thinking, oh, this is not something we put out there because it's a family issue. Is that kind of what you see with your patients and people who come to you?
I think you got that point. A lot of families, they don't share emotions verbally, right? They could be there for you, cooking meals, prepare, like clean the houses, but they don't talk about feelings. So it's not common. It's not used to talk about feelings in a lot of Asian families.
Right.
And also it could be, especially mental health, it could be stigma, like, oh, you must be crazy, or you're not supposed to be depressed, or this is wrong, it's losing face. So mental health is like not really talked about.
Yeah, no, and you bring up a good point. And Kalea and Lenny Rose, you're both Asian Americans, right? And talk to me about what you bring to the table as social work interns at Adam Place, because I'm sure that diversity helps, because you're dealing with kids coming from all different backgrounds. So what kind of make you attracted to do this kind of work? I'll start with Lenny Rose. What made you want to do something like this to help families?
Well, first of all, I was born and raised in the Philippines, so in my culture, I believe that we're pretty much like more of a private type of person in my family. So as much as possible, we don't want to talk about personal lives, what happened, in our lives. So we just basically wanted to keep it in our circle.
Yeah.
But being here in the United States, I've been living here for 14 years now. I learned a lot of stuff that it's okay to talk about it. That it's actually healthy to talk about it.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so proud, and that I am part of the Adams Place. That I didn't even realize that there's a organization like this until I went to UNLV, and I'm proud about Adams Place, what they're doing, and their mission to help the community as a whole.
That's great. And how about you, Kalea? What's your experience been just kind of getting to this organization and then learning about what they do and how you can help?
Okay, well, I got into social work because I essentially wanted to help people. And when I found out about Adam's Place, I felt like, wow, like this is such a, who would think that grief is such a not talked about topic, especially amongst children. Like when I first experienced grief, it's when I lost one of my close friends back in middle school. And I just remember calling my mom, and I'm like, what do I do? Like, I just lost my friend because I found out at school. She was just like, oh, it's okay, it'll be fine. Like as a kid, you don't really know what to do with that. So back then, if I had Adam's Place as an opportunity for me and my classmates to come together and talk about our friend and talk about our experiences, I feel like that would have changed my perception of grief and loss in the future. Yeah. So I essentially feel very lucky to be here at Adam's Place because I get to help these kids know what they're experiencing. Because if I had someone like that, I feel like I would be different today. So,
I think you going through that experience, you can bring that to the table too, right? And you can share kind of what you went through.
Yeah. Actually, during Camp Cope, we have something called a sharing circle, where even the trained volunteers talk about their loss too. So that is something that we also can talk about with the kids, so they know that they're not alone. Like we ourselves have, as an adult, still experience something like this. So,
yeah, and it's such a great resource. And and Linda, I'm sure when you start seeing Kelly kind of making that change, as a mom, how thankful are you to kind of go through that process with her and seeing the help that's out there?
Well, it was very important for me because myself experienced it. I couldn't even, keep my feet on the ground. I was just like not knowing where to turn, who I can talk to, like you mentioned, pride, Asian people are very prideful. Well, actually everybody is, not just Asians. And, we're secretive, we're, but we do need an outlet, and the more we hold it in, the worse it gets. So to know that there is programs like Adam's Place for our children, because just even talking among family, we're pretty private.
Yeah.
We don't really truly express our feelings to our kids. And so I thought that was great to see her start showing her feelings, her anger. I mean, it's okay. That is part of grief and loss.
Yeah.
You do go through these stages, which I have seen her go through several of them, and to see that she can move forward, because it's a lifetime change that will not change.
Yeah.
Your loss is your loss.
Right.
It doesn't matter if another person steps in and becomes a father figure, she still lost her dad. So for her to, learn to deal with those feelings and to move forward was very important for me. Mental health wise, I wanted her to be healthy.
Yeah. And Kelly, what is it? Obviously, when you go through something like that, it doesn't just affect within your family. Talk to me about, it could affect schools, and everything that you do in your life, right?
I mean, I think my mom noticed my grades went down. I used to be a really high grade student, and then when that happened, it definitely decreased by a lot.
Yeah. So did it start getting better when you start kind of sharing and putting it out there? Talk to me about that change when you say, okay, I can move on and I can start focusing on school and other things now.
When I started noticing that I could start moving forward, it was kind of okay, something just opened up inside of my brain. I don't know what just happened, but something just happened.
What do you think helped you the most, this whole process, going through Camp Cope? What was the thing that really helped you the most?
Definitely talking about it, fun activities, talking about how to cope with it, rather than just talking about it. There's other ways to cope with it than just, hey, I'm feeling sad today. Not just talking about it, activities, listening to music, drawing.
It all helps, right? And Celine, you listening to all of this, and I know you work with so many different families. What are you taking away from this? I mean, why is it so important just to have someone like Kelly, and Linda and her family kind of coming out and talking about this?
So it's important for parents to recognize something going on with their kids. Like school-age kids could be not want to go to school, or the academic, the grade change, sleep change, or food, appetite change. And then after that, finding the resources for the kids, so they will be able to find a place to gradually process their trauma. And for parents, it's important too, because they need to recognize their own loss and their own grieving process. So don't be afraid of talking about that. And even you can share some of your feeling, but not to get your children to help you with your feeling. I think that's important.
Yeah, and I think Celine, talk about this, because I think the kids take the cue from the parents, right? How parents are reacting, what they're doing, that all has an impact on their children as well.
That's right.
Yeah. And they come to you and talk about this. I know you offer your services in multiple languages. And why is that important, just to have that resource too? Because I think sometimes the language barrier becomes an issue for many families, right?
That's correct. And also the understanding of culture, understanding of how people express their trauma, their grief, their loss. So it could be somatic, like I feel headache, I feel painful in my body. So what does that mean to you? Even a lot of time processing grief, it's not only talking, so can be doing something, right? Making artwork, or singing, or movement, or watching the movie together.
Yeah.
So to help the client, someone who needs to process.
Yeah, that's and I think this brings back to Camp Cope, which is the signature program of Adam's Place. And this is it's going to be a virtual Camp Cope. They've done in person, but because of COVID, families are feeling more comfortable doing it virtually. So Lenny Rose and Kalea, talk to me a little bit about people who've never been to Camp Cope and they want to get registered and get in. Talk to me about how this works. So do they meet and then talk to each other, and do they do activities virtually and talk with you all as trained facilitators, right?
Yes. So to sign up for Camp Cope, we always encourage the families to go to our website, which is adamsplacelv.org, where they can sign up, fill out a little short form, and in that form they can just disclose who they lost and how their personal relationship with them. After they submit that form, that's when we do the family orientation, where we get together with the families virtually, and we just basically talk about what we do, how Camp Cope will be set up. We also do the sharing circle so they could get a glimpse of what is in the actual sessions. Once we figure out who is actually committing to the program, which is 6 weeks, and we encourage them to do the 6 weeks consecutively, that's when we go into the activities. And each week we have a different theme for the program that we talk about.
And Lenny Rose, talk to us about who this program is for, because you can start as young as 3, right? You have junior Camp Cope all the way up to 18. So talk to me about the kids who are involved, and you know, you're targeting different age groups with this program.
Yes, we start with the age at the age of 4 to 18 years old. So from littles to middles to teens and adults. So yeah, all the information, just go to on our website and then sign up, and it'll get you through all the.
And that's important because you have different age groups. I think you know, we're talking about that a little bit. Of it's so important to target, because kids respond in different ways in different age groups.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, and then when you are trained as social work intern at Adams Place, do they talk about that? Just all different ways of how social emotional learning comes into play and how that works. What was your reaction just kind of seeing this program and how it might help children and teens?
So when we were becoming trained volunteer facilitators, the activities that we learn, or the activities we do with the kids, is we do it amongst ourselves when we're doing the training. So coming into it, we didn't really know like what to expect, and once we dived into the activities and stuff, I just thought that it was so rewarding, because after going through the first training, was like, wow, I even know like what I'm dealing with, if that makes sense. So yeah, it was it's educational on both ends.
No, it's great, and it's good to see young people getting involved in these things, especially, you know, people you've gone through, you know, losses in your life, and I think we've all gone through with certain types of loss, you know, and you bring that to the table, say it's okay to talk about it. And I know that Adams Place, Lenny Rose, they have a run coming up, and why is it so important to support? Because as a nonprofit, they do need community support, right, to get their programs running, and it's free of charge for the families.
Yeah, it is free. Wait a minute, the 5K, I don't think it's free.
No, it's not 5K, but I'm just saying we need to raise money so that Camp Cope is free for the families.
Exactly, yeah. We just finished the fun golf tournament last Saturday, and we raised like, I would say 3,000 something.
Yeah, and that's community comes together for this golf tournament that benefits Adams
We
Place.
had fun, and it was great experience for us as social work students, and learned a lot of stuff.
How does that feel, seeing the community come together and you know, give back to Adams Place?
It's amazing. It's really amazing to know that a lot of people, or some people, are willing to help. Even $10 is a big thing, you know. So we really appreciate that.
That's great.
And I like that.
And I see lots of families stepping up, families like Carpenters who've gone through that and gotten help through Adams Place, and they come back and volunteer and be part of it. And I'm sure Linda and Kelly talked to you about that, because once you go through that process, I think you have that kind of, you want to support programs like this, right?
Absolutely, because again, not knowing that it is available, and then to find it and help us so much, you know, to grow, to learn, and to know that it's out there. I do, and that's why I'm here today, to spread the word that there is help for everyone out there. And this program is amazing because it does not cost anything out of pocket. You know, so communities, please, you know, reach out and volunteer or donate or participate in all their activities, because it helps everyone, the whole community.
And you're living proof, you know. Kelly is here, you're here. And Kelly, what do you want to put out there for other kids who maybe are going through the same thing, and what any kind of advice that you can give kids your age?
That they're just not alone, and talk to someone, anyone at this point. Just get the help that you need, because it's not too late until it is, really.
Yeah. And how old are you right now?
13.
13. So what will you remember best about your dad? What do you think the legacy, the memory that he leaves behind for you?
There's too much.
A lot of good memories, huh?
Just spending time with family, Christmases, dinners, going out to races.
Yeah.
Trips sometimes. We went to California for a race one time, and it was really nice. We stayed at a hotel.
Yeah. And you take that with you. And I think this is part of the conversation, like Linda, turn it to something that can maybe help other people.
Yes, absolutely. Too many people hold it in. Too many people are too proud. We do need to make the community aware that it is available.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And a lot of times, there is also private services, but some people can't afford it.
Right.
So this is like the perfect place to go.
Yeah.
They will give you any resources that you need. They will help you along the way.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in. And Celine, thank you so much for your help as well, because I know you've done so much for the community, especially those who don't speak English as their first language. So Celine is a licensed marriage and family therapist. She works right here in Las Vegas. You can always find her. We have Adams Place, who are starting their next Camp Cope. That's coming up October 11th. So if you want more information, adamsplacelv.org. And of course, their upcoming 5Ks, their big fundraiser where people can join and raise money to help support organizations like this. So we thank all of you for coming into the studio today to share this. I think this is really important, not just talking about it, but sharing that this resource is out there. Of course, Asian Community Development Council, they're always kind of pushing, talking about issues that are affecting people. Mental health, this is part of it. They actually have an education series coming up this Friday, so find out on their Facebook page. It's about the stigma, to people not talking enough about mental health. So that's coming up as part of their programming. Also, this week happening is the National Immigration Integration Conference, or NIC. It's taking place at the Westgate, Las Vegas. You can always go, and this is the gathering of America's people who support America's immigrants and refugees. So this is a great event that's happening at the Westgate. That's happening this week as well. You can always go to their website, acdcnv.org, to get more information about what this organization does. I know Linda was just like, I didn't know about this organization, and she wanted to get help for her family members. So I think this is a great way to get the community together, offer resources that are often free of charge for communities, including what Adams Place is doing as well. So thank you all for being with us today. Kalea and Lenny Rose from Adams Place, Linda and Kelly Carpenter, and also Celine Liu joining us from home. We appreciate you watching this program, and we'll see you again next week.